Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jenny will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. And today I have with me Lydia Knight. Now, Lydia is a professional speaker and trainer, an executive coach, and a founder and CEO of The She Center, a top 2% woman-owned business globally. She has been featured on CBS, NBC, Fox News, Yahoo, Wall Street Journal, and so many more places that I'm just going to stop there because we'll be here all day listing all the places. She leads leadership and communication trainings, and she has done so for the U.S. Army, for companies in Forbes 50 over 50, Emmy Award winners. Oh my gosh, y'all, we've had Grammy winners recently, an Emmy Award winner. This is amazing. And she's even worked with National Geographic, Disney, Adobe, and others. She specializes in neuroscience and thought patterns of leadership and influence. Oh, all you leaders. Oh, hopefully your antennas all just went up. Ding, ding, ding. Ready to listen to this one. She helps transform behavior patterns, creating optimal identities and embodying highly influential communication. Lydia, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me on. You have such an incredible reading voice. Like, I've heard my bio before, but I feel like I heard it with a whole new ears. I'm like, yeah, you read so well.
Well, thank you. I'm like, I do so many of these, like 1 to 2 of these per week, that I'm like, I got to make it fun for me so that everybody else wants to hear it too. So I'm glad that you are here. And I'm really fascinated because some of what was in your bio, I was like, oh, we are going to have so much fun digging into this stuff, because my word or phrase for the year, we're recording this in 2025, and my word or phrase for this year is KISS leadership. Keep it simple, sweetie, leadership, specifically because last year I was all over the place, had zero focus, and my business showed it. And this year it's been like dialed in and mwah. So how did you get started in the business world? Like, what got you in that direction? And especially then really focusing on leadership and communications.
Yeah, so I had an early start, Jenny. Like, I have been financially supporting myself since I was 11 years old.
Wow.
I have a weird, bizarre, dark past, but I think it's a great example of the thing that we're afraid of people finding out of, like, oh no, if they really saw me. That's actually amazing to embrace that thing that is unique about you. So I'm actually a cult survivor. My grandmother was a cult leader. So I grew up in a very strange situation. I was very terrified, and we were extremely, extremely poor. And so I got started supporting myself as an 11-year-old. And guess what? Nobody wants to hire you as an 11-year-old, but you can do one career, which is be an entrepreneur.
Yes,
so I became an entrepreneur at 11 years old. I've been supporting myself ever since. And that's really how I got my start, and then worked from home. I've been working from home since before it was cool, like way, way back in the day.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing to have that flexibility. And I know that's one reason why, your listeners love what they do, because you get to form your life and your time and your career and your abundance around what you value and what's important to you. So loved that. And going back to the authenticity and what our gifts are and just being real with who we are has been a North Star on a rocky road, but has been a North Star. And it went from, working from home, helping others to change their habits, to being good at building that business. So became a business coach for other people doing that. Realize that the core of everything is about our thought patterns and our authenticity, and followed that to creating, my own business that we have now is the She Center, and just continually following that North Star of what is it that my soul is called to and where I'm adding the most value and letting that be the guide. And it's hard to trust sometimes, but it has been the most beautiful guide and teacher.
I love that because I know that especially anybody who's in leadership in direct sales, network marketing, MLM industry definitely feels called to it. They really feel like they had no choice if they were listening to their North Star, if they were paying attention to that energetic, that whatever pull, the universal pull, whatever somebody may call that. And I know you spent some time also with one of your serial entrepreneurial endeavors in the world of direct sales and network marketing. What are some of the pieces that you pulled from your experience in the industry?
I think that direct sales has this incredible ability to continue to put you up against your fear.
Mm,
Because you can see someone in leadership that's making 10 times as much as you and impacting, 10 times as many people. And they're not like smarter than you and they're not more educated than you. And they're like, really what it comes down to is those people have a greater ability to look at their fear and feel it and then continue to share anyway. Because
mm,
so much of that industry is about, am I willing to share? And it was such a great experience to overcome that fear over and over and to not have fear be what drives our decisions, but fear informs actually our path of, oh, that's something where there's a growing edge for me because I'm a little afraid to do that. So it's incredible with confronting fear. It's incredible with personal development. And that is huge. That's really where I learned that the more that you work on yourself, that directly translates into your impact and your income and your freedom in the world. So those were some big highlights that I was very grateful. And there's a lot of leadership principles that you learn as well. Because it's interesting in that structure, you are helping and supporting people that you didn't hire. They were a client of yours. There's somebody that you helped and
right.
they're raising their hand and they're wanting to do what you do, but you didn't interview them. You didn't put a job posting out there. So it's an interesting sort of family that you didn't choose, but you brought together. So bringing out the best in people, not because they checked the boxes in the interview, but because their heart called them to it, and then helping them to create their own dreams. It's a cool and unique and a way to very quickly develop yourself.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, for sure. And I think that, you really do have a point there because a vast majority of people in direct sales and network marketing don't quote unquote hire, I'm putting air quotes around that, guys, don't hire their team members. And I think that is something that actually negatively impacts how they treat their team because they treat them as if they were hired without actually having gone through a process that confirms on both sides that this is really what you want to do. And I would say part of my success in my direct sales journey when I was still active in the industry was the fact that I did start doing interviews because I did start going, you know what? I'm going to pre-qualify people for this. I'm not going to take anybody and everybody. This is my business. This is my livelihood. I'm not going to have just a bunch of, people who are going to try this on for like, I don't have time for that. And so if there were people who wanted to try it, I was like, you are welcome to sign on with anybody else. I'm here for people who are going to take this seriously and do this for real. Like, you're in or you're out. Let's have a conversation about what that looks like. And we did. And there were a lot of people who were like, yeah, I want to do that. Like, I want someone who's going to actually take this seriously because I know you're going to be there for me as a leader, blah, blah. Like, it actually sold more people, I think, on doing the business. And I didn't have to drag people along anymore because they were like, oh, she's for real. And then, of course, anybody who wasn't serious about it, they found another path.
Yeah, you got to have standards for people to step up to those standards. Like people become a higher version of themselves when they can feel that expectation of belief in them. But what a beautiful approach because people could feel like, oh, this is for me or this isn't a match. Either way, you win,
Right.
they win.
Exactly. And I think that's important for especially anybody who's just now starting to get into the industry or just now starting to get into a potential leadership position where they might be bringing some people in. Because one of the biggest things I see hold people back in the industry are the what I call kidnappers or I'm just in it for the discount, the discounters, they're not really team members. Is there a chance that they could switch and, really become? Yes. Is it a good chance? no, like the odds are stacked against you. So, I mean, you can still show up when they're ready, but until then, like, please, dear God, do not waste your time or energy dragging them along because to me, it's not worth it for the 85-90% of people who are never going to do anything with it anyway. So I think it's really important to or identify those people early on in the journey.
Yeah.
So
And you need to be a leader to recognize leaders. And one
yeah,
thing that I thought was a really interesting sort of magic of the universe is sometimes you have someone on your team that is not a leader, doesn't want to be a leader, is not going to become one.
mhm,
All good, like
yeah,
great. But they connect you with someone who is absolutely a leader and is looking for leadership. So it is incredible to see how sometimes it's not that front line, it's someone that is a connection of a connection. You're like, yep, I see you. I'm a leader. You're a leader. Let's run.
right, absolutely. And as long as somebody's making those connections, that is work in their business. That they're doing something as opposed to the kidnapper who takes the sample kit and you never hear from them again because they're like, I just ran away with $1,000 of whatever product, for $100 or $200 or whatever it is that they invested to get in that, versus somebody who says, oh, okay, well, hey, I have someone that I think, should I invite them to this thing? Yes. Yes, please. Right? Because they're at least making the effort, right? And reward the behavior you want to see in all of that. So now you've worked more into and shifted into your own business. You're with the She Center and you're talking about leadership and influence. So let's talk about the combination of leadership and influence.
Yeah, that is so essential to recognize that as a leader, what makes you a
Mhm.
good leader is being able to have influence. Like, leader is inspiration, being a leader is helping someone to become a higher version of themselves. And what makes you a leader with integrity is when that influence is leading to their life and your life getting better. Because you can also be a leader with influence that is not in integrity, is more about control, or, is like putting money in your pocket, but isn't, helping someone else's dreams come true. So the integrity is the foundation. I think that's like a given that we always need to start with. But then as a leader, the greater influence you have, the greater impact that you have. And people, they want to be influenced. They want to be led. It feels good to be with someone that you can trust has a path for you to have a better life. And so it's a beautiful connection when it's done in integrity.
Oh, yes. Absolutely agree. Because, that's part of the reason that the industry has a negative perception is because of, unfortunately, the bad actors, the bad apples, whatever you want to call them, who, did something negative that, then affected somebody's wife, sister, neighbor, friend, coworker, that person at church, whatever it may be, right? And because influence and leadership, two sides of one coin can both be good or bad, right? In that. So, starting with the integrity piece, what are some other characteristics that you see very regularly that show up in great leaders?
Mm. So the term that we use is centered leadership. And there are aspects that go into that. So to contrast it, there's this outdated old style of very top down, sort of authoritarian, like you're a leader if you can force and control. And I think we can all agree we're all done with that. Like we're
Yeah.
done with that. And it's simply not effective. Like you will tank in your profit and you'll tank in like the things that are most important when you have that style of leadership in your organization or if you're adopting that style of leadership. So if you think about the sort of old model of leadership being how many people can I control versus centered leadership is like we're all sitting around in a circle and we're looking at what is the goal? Like, what is the goal for all of us? What is our outcome collectively? And really respecting everyone's ideas in a way that, like, just like in an organization, you don't exactly know who your leaders are going to be that pops up. In an organization, you don't know what ideas are going to be some of your best ideas. And oftentimes they're not from people with leadership titles. They're from people that are really understanding the day to day of what's happening. So, centered leadership, there's a listening and a respect for lots of different diverse perspectives. Centered leadership is seeing value where instead of the focus being on how much can we make people conform or obey. It's in how much can we bring people together and have them look equally at a vision that we're creating together. And these are all aspects that are going to be great for your organization and your impact and your income and all of that when you're in that centered leader space. And going back to that integrity piece, that's a foundation. And another foundation is an authenticity. And I think that all of us have felt this where, especially as a leader or when people are looking to us as leaders, we're like, okay, well, what mask do I wear for that? Like, how do I show up with my leader voice and my leader face and my leader whatever? And the more that you can really look at authentically who you are and lead as that person, the better, because you are building on that foundation. And when people feel that authenticity from you, it brings out their authenticity. And guess what? Their authenticity is where their best performance and their highest self and their greatest ideas are going to come from. So it's like everyone stop pretending to be whatever, like take
Right.
off your corporate voice and like be your authentic self.
Yeah. No, I just saw something, I'm going to say it was on like Facebook Reel or something. And somebody was talking about how Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? We typically see it as a regular pyramid. And what fascinated me was they were talking about how in Native American culture or American Indian culture, or, it's actually the other way around. Like the lowest, most basic need that you start with is self-actualization, being the best you, so that you can then provide all the other things. And I was like, oh, that's like literally talk about turning somebody's thoughts on their head, right? Like, and this speaks to what you were just saying, which is, start with integrity, start with authenticity. This is like the highest, best version of you being that person, or at least the person who's on their way to being the highest, best version of themselves. Or, for my badass crew, they know that I follow a code called the Ohana Way, being your most noble self, the N in Ohana. Huge, huge piece there. And leaders really do need that, because people don't like following fake people. They don't like, they can't always sense that it's like fake, but they can sense there's something off. And so they're less likely to follow. But as soon as there's that alignment of what you were talking about, which is integrity and authenticity, and you are who you say you are, and you do the things you say you're going to do, and then all of a sudden people are like ready and willing to follow.
Yeah. Oh, I love how you brought that up. That is such an important model to flip on its head. And we find that to be so true. And this has been well studied. And this is what we find in our executive coaching as well. We talk about you center self, then you center sphere, and then you can center your world. But it's like that ripple effect. Like you've got to start with you. And here's how we see it on the other side, where if you're trying to center or influence your world before you're centered, all of your imposter syndrome and your insecurities that you want people to not find out, you're going to see them in your team. Because the thing that you're like, oh man, here's the thing that I'm trying to hide from people, you start seeing that exact problem as it pops up in your team. And it's like, well, now it's out in the open. So you center, self-actualize. The thing starts with you. And that way it ripples out to, oh, your team is good with this because you got good with this first.
Oh, I am feeling that like right now in myself because I'm getting ready to step into one of my biggest events of the year. Like and yeah, I've really been feeling like, okay, I need to work on my alignment and getting in this place where I'm attracting in the right people, attracting in the people who are going to get the most impact and value from this. Because when I was focused more on how can I get all the people, which is part of why there was an issue with my business last year, was because I was trying to get all the people. And this year I'm like, nope, I'm focused on helping leaders, because that's where we can make the biggest impact, right? You impact a leader, you impact everyone that they influence as well. I'm like, yep, that's what I'm going to do. So that when you were saying like start with, center yourself, then center your sphere, the people around you who are closest to you. So in network marketing, this is your team, your first line leaders, then your second line leaders, and your third line leaders, and all the way down the organization. But the other piece that I think works really well with this is the 360-degree leadership. I think that fits in very well if you've heard of that model. Because a great leader is good at leading their leader. So in the world of network marketing, we all have a leader. Even the person who's at the tippy top of network marketing still reports to home office. So a great leader needs to be able to also influence the leader who is above them and teaching them how to lead themselves, right? Like, here's how you can get the most out of me is if you do this, this, and this.
100%. So a funny side note there is 360-degree surveys. I'm very familiar. I was doing them like back in the day. My very first job out of college was at a leadership consulting firm, specifically a project manager for 360-degree surveys. And so I got the beautiful benefit of, they were in Integrity where they did that with a company as well. And as like, a very young person, I got to have that experience. And it really is so beautiful to see that your influence and impact is not just one direction. Like it's 360. It's like those ripple effects that we talk about, that ripple in the pond of it's going out every direction. And to really like embody and own that influence. Because sometimes we only count our leadership one direction, right? It's like, well, I only count my leadership with my team, but you're not thinking about your family, or you're not thinking about your parents. Like that you as a leader, you impact everyone around you.
Yeah. I mean, at least if you're a good leader, yes, you are impacting everyone around you, right? Because those leadership skills work not only in your business, but they can work in your everyday life too. They should translate outside of that sphere, right? At least in optimum world, because then when you're truly in integrity and authenticity, you're showing up as the same person, with different facets, of course. You're showing up as that same person. That is so good. Oh my gosh. And then the other thing that popped out to me, because now I'm going to go down another rabbit hole here. One last rabbit hole before we wrap this conversation up. You talked about creating optimal identities. Let's go down that path, because I'm feeling my audience already. They're like, yeah, tell me about that. I want to know more. What's an optimal identity? Like, is there like a specific process that you do for this? How do you define this? I mean, all the things.
Yes. Oh, this is such a fun thing to nerd out on. And we'll get into some neuroscience principles that will be transformative, like the moment that you practice them, which is so fun. And it goes back to our fear conversation. So that's cool as well. So there's our authentic self. And then there's what we want to create, right? So think in your mind, what is like your biggest, most juicy, grandest, delightful goal that's in your mind of what you want to create? And the truth is that the reason you're not there yet is because you're a now identity versus the identity, the authentic version of yourself, but the version of yourself that matches that goal. Because you probably heard the study of like, people who win the lottery, they lose all their money within a year, or they're in an even worse position. It's because their identity isn't a millionaire identity. They still have a poverty identity. You can give them $1 million, but our results will always match our identity. Our results will always match our identity. So an optimal identity means that you look at that goal, you get in touch with who is the identity, the version of you that matches that. And then your work is not so much to hustle and grind to get to that goal. Your work is to center yourself and to become that identity, and then watch the magic happen of that result show up because it matches who you are. And the way that you know the path of how to get there is you get into a vivid visualization. You feel your goal as if it has already happened. You are grateful in advance for it. And then you notice what fear comes up for you. And we call this the chatter. Our brain is resistant to change. So when we think of having a better life, our brain will be resistant to our goal, and it will bring up this brain chatter that is all the fears of like, oh, well, you can't talk to those people, or what will they think of you here? Or like, well, you don't know how to pay taxes if you make that much money. Like all these ridiculous things of why you can't be there.
Mhm.
You take that chatter of resistance, that inner critic, you flip it on its head. And that is the thought pattern and the identity that you program in. Your resistance in your brain literally gives you a roadmap in verse of who you need to become to reach your goal.
Oh my gosh. The number of people who just had a light bulb freaking moment, like through the roof. That was like an energetic atom bomb just went off in the consciousness of the badass crew right now. That was huge. Oh my gosh. So your biggest, best version of you is the roadmap to that person is through the fears that your brain brings up when you think about that person. All right, who's getting ready to go journal right now? Like, I'm like, yeah, that right there. Oh my gosh, guys, I hope you favorite this episode. Like, star it, heart it. I don't know what app you're on, but do the thing. Bookmark it on your phone, bookmark it on your browser. Come back and listen to this again because holy cow, y'all, that was huge right there. If you want to become that version of you that is fulfilling the dreams you have, you just got the roadmap. Amazing. Lydia, that is fantastic. Oh my gosh. Well, I want to continue to talk to you, and we can't do that all day. So we're going to have to bring you back another time for more chat about all of this, including embodying highly influential communication. Cause like, that's my next one, but I'm like, we should probably let people work on their dream self there. So, and then we'll begin that highly influential communication piece. But until then, how is it that someone from the Badass Crew could reach out to you, connect with you, share gratitude for that aha moment, that light bulb that they just had? How should they connect with you?
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. And I receive all of the gratitude and give all the gratitude. So thank you for having me on. This has been such a fun conversation. So we have a fantastic vault of resources for you. You can go to theshecenter.org/podcast, and there will be some of our most fun, useful resources for you. And there will also be links to our social media. So we are the She Center pretty much everywhere. And what's fun is the kind of, gems and principles we've talked about today on social media. We share those in short clips in ways where you can just keep on taking one step day after day and become that person that you want to be. So again, all of that is at theshecenter.org/podcast.
Oh my gosh. And of course, the Badass Crew already knows that link is in the show notes. And I'm pointing down, not that anybody can see, but it's in the show notes or the episode notes, or if you're on YouTube, it's right here under the video. Just look down. You'll see the direct link to get to the shecenter.org/podcast. So you don't have to worry about spelling it right. Just grab your phone, as long as you're not driving, and click on today's episode. Scroll underneath Lydia's picture, and there you will see the link to the She Center, and you can see all of the resources in their vault there. So thank you, Lydia. This has been a mind-blowing conversation. I so appreciate you for being here.
Thank you for having me on. What an absolute joy. I'm excited for everyone to be becoming that version of them that matches their highest goals.
I cannot wait to see what comes out of this, because those ripples, this is going to be like not just the ripples on a flat pond, but like 3D bubble ripples going out into the world. I'm so excited for this. So, Lydia, we appreciate you for being here. And of course, Badass Crew, you know how this goes. Stay tuned, because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.